welcome to the Farm Show. This week we're out at a corn and soybean test plot with Brad Gook. Brad's an employee of Professional Agronomy Services in Perm, and he's going to give us a tour. So welcome to the show, Brad.
Hi, Gene. Thanks for having us.
The soybeans and the corn, this is the first time it's been in this area for this test plot?
Correct. So where we're at here is this is a answer plot put on by Winfield, and they do a lot of research around the country actually, so we're very excited and fortunate to have it here. This particular plot was previously near Park Rapids and is now obviously here by Perm. Gives them just a little bit greater flexibility in maturities, both corn and soybeans. They can go a little early and a little late and kind of spread it out just a little bit to get a little bit more data. So like I said, we're definitely excited to have it here and have the opportunity to get some hands-on experience.
To focus first on the soybeans, I see a lot of signs. There's many different varieties of soybeans here, and I assume, are these new varieties or old ones, or what do they got going here?
So a lot of the varieties, every sign is a different variety throughout the plot. A lot of them are brand new, first year in production, available for purchase next year. Some of them have been around for a couple of years, and there may even be a few more that have been around for maybe 4 years that have proven to be really good. It would be products that they would have them in the plot here, knowing that they've been proven products, and comparing some of the newest ones against them to kind of get the latest and greatest and use them as a benchmark.
What traits have they been looking at out here?
So everything in the plot here, actually on the soybean side of things, there's all of the traits in this particular plot. There's Roundup Ready soybeans, there are Liberty Link soybeans in the plot, and then actually there are several entries in the plot that are the new Extend technology. So the dicamba technology trait released through Monsanto. So.
And you also say there's different populations they're testing, and so that the salesman then can help the farmers choose the varieties, populations.
Absolutely. Whatever. So the really great thing about this is it puts some localized information in front of us. It gives us the opportunity as customers, growers, agronomists to go back on that data, to come through the plot, look at things, find some, see the differences from higher populations to lower populations. In the corn we see a lot more differences in fertility treatments. We can discuss that when we get that far. It gives us some hands-on information, right, localized, that shows us what we're looking at.
How many different types of soybeans have we got? There's a chunk here, and you say there's another field in the back, and how many have they got on your plot here?
So I think that soybean-wise, so we've got soybeans from actually multiple different brands. Croplan is the seed brand that is Winfield's own seed brand, and the really great thing is that when Winfield does their research, they just don't do their own product. They bear it all, and if somebody else's wins, it wins. But their goal is to bring some local insights to people, to the growers, and knowledge and data that we can use. So brand-wise, there's soybeans from Croplan, soybeans from Asgrow, soybeans from NK, and soybeans from Mycogen on site. Being it's a Winfield plot, it's probably a little bit heavier on the Croplan side, but I believe it's right around 20 total that are in the show and the demonstration area. So.
We're just a couple miles south of Perm, and the plot will be available later for people to come out and
absolutely.
Look at
Tentatively, right now we have actually, Winfield will have an answer plot session that's for growers and agronomists. That'll be coming up actually a little bit later here this summer. It'll be, I believe it's September 1st, scheduled for 8:30 registration, 9 o'clock start. They have some pretty knowledgeable agronomy staff and stuff from Winfield comes in and explains a lot of things, tries to bring data and information to growers to help them learn different practices or see the benefits from things. And so again, that'll be coming up here, and that'll be open to growers and agronomists alike.
And Professional Agronomy Services is the place to
Yeah, we can certainly, absolutely, we can
if
get.
If you have a question, that's
we can certainly help with that and kind of direct towards directions to get here, or come out with growers on a one-on-one basis, check things out, and look at whatever the farmer wants to look at.
all these different types. Some are very visibly different, and then we get to some other areas I can't tell the difference. I suppose you can. That's great. Your background on this, are you a trained agronomist or?
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time in different areas of the region, actually. So I've spent a lot of time in retail agronomy. I spent about 5 years in the Red River Valley. I spent about 5 years in seed production in further south near St. Cloud, and similar environment as here. And I've been in this area a couple of years now, so it's certainly been interesting to see all of the different practices and the different areas and all of the experiences. So.
This plot is a lot bigger than our camera will be able to show, but it's the first time you've had it in the Perm area, so you're getting some local results. They'll be harvested little plots to evaluate. So the Cropland company, as I understand it, then wants to get some real numbers to find out which varieties work best at this location.
Correct. So they're doing a lot of their yield trials are based on yield in a continuous corn environment for each corn hybrid, yield in a corn-soybean rotation environment, yield in a limited nitrogen environment, in an unlimited nitrogen environment. They're testing yield along a whole host of different things. They're actually testing yield response to fungicides. So they're if it's there to test in terms of yield response to a certain environmental or agricultural practice factor, they're doing their best to kind of get that knowledge and find ways to help us out.
Garden plot here is treated differently then to accomplish those.
Correct. To some extent, yes. There's a lot of it that across the soybeans, they're treated all of the same in terms of probably the fungicide and the herbicide treatments, with the exception of the different herbicide traits. They would be treated appropriately for the technology that's allowed to be used with that trait. Mm-hmm. But on the corn, we can get to that in a few minutes. There's a lot of different things going on there that we could talk about. So,
well, myself, I'm more knowledgeable about corn than soybeans. You talk about the number 1, 2, 3 on the soybeans. The maturity, is that, or how are they? Is that how they're scored?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that.
Correct. So soybeans run on a relative maturity scale. Soybeans are kind of a photosensitive plant, not necessarily a certain amount of days, but it's more sunlight type response to that. So typically, a lot of times with the soybeans, once the days start getting shorter, they start kicking into that mode. Hey, it's time to start kicking flowers out here and start putting pods on, because we're getting less and less sunlight. And that means that we're coming to where we need to reach our maturity point.
You mentioned that these are just starting to get pods on. They start at the bottom and then up towards the top, and I know then they turn yellow in the fall. That's normal?
Correct. That's very normal.
That's about all I know of soybeans.
They mature down. They dry down quite a bit compared to their nice green color now. And the pods dry down just the same. And that's the goal, is to get them dried down. And really, with not being able, in some places you mentioned you can see some really obvious differences. In other places, you can't hardly tell the difference between one to the next just by glancing. That will definitely be more evident as the maturing process happens, and as the dry down happens. A lot of times you will see a pretty evident line where this time of year you couldn't, in terms of just maturity, color, and then standability and things like that.
There are a lot of soybeans grown in the area where 30, 40 years ago, there was none. And I understand the maturities have been developed for the northern climate, where if you get into the Corn Belt, Iowa, Illinois, they've had soybeans for a long time, and they're taller plants. Is that correct?
I believe that would be, to some extent, a correct assumption, that you would run into that situation where a lot of those plants are taller. We do typically see soybeans here, especially under irrigation or a very wet season like we've been having lately. I was in a soybean field yesterday that was between waist and armpit high.
Okay, I'm surprised they get that tall here.
And you can see, for example, right here,
there's a taller one.
There's a taller variety there, and they actually happen to be the exact same maturity. the same relative maturity to them. So
Would you expect the taller one to yield more than the shorter one?
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's a lot that goes into the different agronomic factors, and taller does not always mean more yield. I mean, the number of beans in the pods are what
That's what we're
produces
going
that
for.
yield. So similarly to, for example, corn, taller corn, might mean more silage yield in tonnage in several cases, but it doesn't always mean more bushels in grain corn. So.
Okay, Brad, well that was quite a bit of information about soybeans. Thanks for the tour, and we'll be out here probably later, be some more people out to look at your plots.
Great.
So that concludes the farm show for this week. We'll see you next week.